All right, next thing we're going to talk about then and kind of finish up this lesson is with this law of cosines. Kind of just like the law of sines, we're going to use this when we're trying to find missing angles and missing sides of non-right triangles. And there are even a few more restrictions on the law of cosines where we get these cases where it doesn't quite work out nicely. But we're not going to worry about those. We'll let those go with your Algebra 2 teachers or even your pre-calc teachers. They're called the ambiguous cases, and we're not going to deal with those within this lesson. So what's the difference between the law of sine and the law of cosine? Well, with law of sines, we said you needed to know really three things and two major things. You need to know the length of a side and the measure of its opposite angle, and then one more thing. With the law of cosines, that's not going to be the case. The law of cosines is really only going to work for two specific types of instances that happen. You either need to know all three sides, so we have like a side situation going on where you know all three sides of the triangle. So we know that this is 10, this is 6, and this is 14. And we know all three sides of the triangle, and we've got a side. Then we could go ahead and find the measure of any of the angles. The other instance that this is going to work is if we're trying to find a side and we have like a side angle side. So we have this triangle sitting here where we know that the measure of this angle is 96, and let's say the length of this side is 28 and the length of this side is 17. So we've got a side, an included angle, and another side, and then we would want to find this value of x down there. So these are the two instances when the law of cosine is going to work. When we have side, or we have a side angle side kind of situation going on. The first instance we're going to use in the formula that we're going to use if it's side angle side. If we have side angle side going on, this is the formula that we're going to use for the law of cosines. And again, this is if we have side angle side going on. When we'd have side, we're going to use a little bit of a different formula where it's the same formula, but I'm going to derive it a little bit and we're going to break it down. So it's a little bit easier to kind of understand. So if we're doing side angle side, the formula that we're going to use is c squared is equal to a squared. I'm yawning. Sorry, I'm boring myself. Oh, let's try it again. C squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab times the cosine of c, where c squared is c value is the side that you're trying to find. You're going to know the values of a and b, and you're going to know the measure of the cosine of c. A, b's, and c's are irrelevant in the sense of the imagination. That c squared or that c value is going to be the side that you're trying to find. And that's going to be equal to the sides that you know squared minus 2 times those sides times a times c. So don't get too hung up on the a's, the b's, and the c's. Get hung up on what you're trying to find and what you are given, and the fact that this is only going to work when we've got side angle side kind of going on here a little bit. So kind of keep, that kind of thing really in mind as we're looking at the problems. So again, this is what we're going to use when we have side angle side going on. So let's look at an example of a triangle where we would use this. Okay, so let's say we know the measure of this angle is 117 degrees. This is maybe the best triangle in the world. And we know that the length of this side is 21, and we know the length of this side is 9. And we want to find the length of this side over here. Okay, notice there's no A's, there's no B's, there's no C's. So that's why you can't really get too hung up on that. Where's the A's, where's the B's, where's the C's, in that type of situation. What you do need to get hung up is that we have side angle side going on, because we know this side, we know this angle, and we know this side, and that angle is included. So then, with all that being said, then we can use our formula that said c squared. But again, remember that c squared is the side we're trying to find, and we're trying to find x. So it's going to be x squared is equal to, it's a squared plus b squared. Now, a and b are the two side lengths that you know. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. So that's going to be 9 squared plus 21 squared minus, and I'm just going back to the formula that was on the previous page, and I'll put it over here in the corner up here, minus 2 times 9 times 21 times the cosine of 117. Okay, now this is where your calculator is going to come in very, very handy. You are just going to type it in your calculator exactly how you see it. So, might be a little bit of an edit there. So grab your calculator, and what you want to do with your calculator is you want to type in exactly what you see there. So we've got 9 squared plus 21 squared minus 2 parentheses 9 parentheses 21 times the cosine of 117, and hit equals. When you hit equals, you should get 693.6-ish, somewhere right in there. Okay, so try it on your calculator a couple times, make sure you get that. Now we have to take the square root of that. So you take the square root of that number, and you get x is equal to 26.3 is the value of x. And these always work when you have kind of that side angle, side piece going on. And those are very specific problems that these are going to work with when we're doing these. Okay, so let's look at another one that's side angle, side. Let's go 120 degrees. Let's go 28, and let's go 20. And we want to find the value of x. So if you want to pause it at this point, go ahead, pause it. You can do the problem yourselves, and then when you get it done, hit play. I'm going to go right now. So first we check we've got side, angle, side. We've got side, we've got angle in the middle, and we've got side, so perfect. So back to our formula, side, angle, side formula. We're going to go the side that we're trying to find squared. So x squared equals the side squared. So 28 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 20 times 28. And it doesn't matter that I put them in different orders. It's the same thing. Times the cosine of 120. Break out the calculator. 28 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 20 times 28 times the cosine of 120. 1,744. Now we're going to take the square root of that, and we get a length of 41.8 is our value of x. So that's side, angle, side use of the law of cosine. So the other option we said we had then is, well, what if we have side, side, side? We can still use the law of cosine, and in fact, we're going to use the same formula. We're just going to manipulate it a little bit so that we don't have to do any addition and adding and subtracting, because now we're going to know kind of everything all as far as the sides go. We're going to know the A's, B's, and C's. We're just not going to know the capitals. So the formula that we are going to use when we have side, side, side for the law of cosine is we are going to use c squared. Now that c squared, that c value there is the value of the side opposite the angle that we're trying to find, and that's key. That's got to be the angle opposite the side we're trying, or the angle we're trying to find. So it's going to be c squared minus a squared minus b squared, all divided by negative 2ab. And that's going to equal the cosine of c. So we're trying to find an angle measure. So we are going to have to do that inverse cosine. So a second cosine to find the measure of the angle. And this is going to give us some type of decimal. So if we have side, 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 this is the law, this is the formula that we're going to use. And again, it's the same formula, it's just manipulated a little bit so you don't have to do it kind of yourself. So let's look at an example. So here's our triangle. We'll say that this is 14, this is 10, and this is 5. And we want to find, we'll call this A, B, C. We want to find the measure of angle C, and it's important you do the side that we're trying to find. And we're trying to find the measure of angle C. So the C up here, this happens to represent the side opposite the angle that we're trying to find. And since we're trying to find C here, opposite it is 14. So when we use our formula, we have to go 14 squared. Now minus the other two, so 10 squared minus 5 squared. All of that divided by negative 2 times 10 times 5. And that's going to equal the cosine of C. Now, when I do this one on the calculator, I like to do the top first, and this is the way you should do it first. Go 14 squared minus 10 squared minus 5 squared. And in this case, you get 71 over, now do the negative 2 times 10 times 5. And that gives you negative 100. And that's going to equal the cosine of C. Now we're just going to leave it like that. And remember when we found the measures of missing angles, the way we solved this, and I'm going to scoot this over here. The way we solved this, change colors, the way we solved this is we went the cosine negative 1 of 71 over negative 100. So second cosine, 71 divided by negative 100 equals, rounded to the nearest degree, that's 135 degrees for the measure of angle C. And now if you're asked to find the rest, which you guys won't be able to do, but you can use the law of sines now to find the rest because you know the measure of an angle and the length of its opposite side. All right, so there's the formula we're going to use for side, side, side. Let's go ahead and try another one. Let's go 8, 9, and 14. Call this A, B, and C. We're going to find the measure of angle A. Okay, we'll do this one together. If you're good to ready to pause, pause. If not, whatever. So angle A is right here. So my first value has to be the value opposite of that. So it's going to be 9 squared. And again, I know it's side, side, side because I know all three sides. I don't know any angles. So it's going to be 9 squared minus 8 squared minus 14 squared, all divided by negative 2 times my 8 and 14. 8 and 14. That's going to equal the cosine of angle A. And again, this 8 and 14 here is going to be the same one, same numbers as those, just not squared. Okay, so I'll do the top part first. 9 squared minus 8 squared minus 14 squared. That's negative 1. No, nice. Let's use a marker instead. That's negative 179. Negative 2 times 8 times 14 is negative 224. That's going to be the cosine of A. So we have to find the measure of the angle. So we're going to go the cosine negative 1. A negative and a negative is going to make a positive. Or you can do negative 179 divided by negative 224. And so we'll just do that. So second cosine, negative 179 divided by negative 224. And you get to the nearest degree, 37 degrees. Now, be careful with your calculator. Make sure when you hit negative 179, use this key right here. Don't use your minus symbol. Use this key right here for negative 179 and negative 244. And don't use your ABC button. Use divided by. It's backwards, but make sure you do those things. Okay? So let's look at one more problem. You figure out which one you have to do. I'm going to put this problem up here. I want you to go ahead and do it. Pause. It might be a side angle side or it might be an angle side. It might be a side, 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 or it might be a side angle side. You decide which one it is and then determine which formula you have to use and then go ahead and solve it. Go ahead and find the length of the third. Find the length of this side. Okay, so I've got side angle side. So I'm going to use my side angle side formula. And now I got which one that is. So it's the side that I'm trying to find squared equals 14 squared plus 24 squared minus 2 times 14 times 24 times the cosine of 110. Type it right into your calculator. 14 squared, clear, clear, clear. 14 squared plus 24 squared minus 2 times, in parentheses, 14, in parentheses, 24, cosine 110. I get x squared equals 1001.8. Take the square root of that, and you get x is equal to 31.7. Okay. So there is the law of cosines. Remember, the law of cosines can be used with two ways. If you have side, 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 or you have side angle side. The second worksheet on your assignment today is going to be the law of cosines ones. Just do the odds. Just the odds on the law of cosine one.